Hello again, YouTube, and it is, what is today? Friday? Yeah, Friday. It's almost 3 a.m. Um, just wanted to make a quick, I guess you could say, vlog. I am using the iPhone again. I'm using the stand on it. I'm just gonna straight up do this instead of walking around because I've heard that gives some people motion sickness. Actually, before I start doing stuff. That looks a little crooked. Alright. Anyway, so I got my Xbox One on, so if you can hear fan or something like that, that's what that is. Anyway, so I'm sitting here, Xbox One, no one's online. Pretty sure no one still is. But I'm sitting here, no one's online that I want to talk to. And, yes, no one still is. Alright, anyway, so, no one's online. Kind of want to talk to people. No one's online. Everyone that I want to talk to is offline. Whatever, yada, yada, yada. I said it like 6 times in a row. So I'm like, well, I could go for a drive. And I was like, well, I could go for a drive. I could drive around to where I dropped off all these because I made up the computer repair and game console repair flyers, and I put them in like maybe 15 different places. Maybe 10, I don't know. Anyway, so I made those up, put them up, whatever. I'm like, I'll go for a drive. The ones I can see from outside on the road, I'll just go drive by them and look at them. So it's not really that far of a stretch. It's like, let's see, it's probably about 5-6 miles, if that, back and forth to where I went. And that's all I was planning on doing, was going down there and then driving back. And it's basically a straight shot, because the ones that I was only looking at 2 of them, maybe 3. But anyway, so I go down Old Clarksville Pike here, turn left, drive, and it's raining. That's part of the reason why I wanted to go drive, because my car's filthy, has bird poop on the windshield. I went over to my grandparents' house the other day. The guy mowed the grass, threw grass all over my fucking car. Whatever. So I go drive. I'm driving here. It's raining. I'm jamming on the radio. I didn't even bring my phone with me. I didn't bring nothing. I was in my pajamas. I didn't bring nothing. So it was me and the car. That was it. One of those type things. So I go down. I go past the first place. There's the flyer still there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I go to the second place. I'm like, well, it's there. It's missing a push pin, but it's fine. It's still there. It's still got 3. I turn around, and I'm pulling out of this gas station, the one I was just at, pulling out of the gas station, and I hit this fucking pothole that is probably the size of fucking Canada or some stupid shit. And what was weird is it was on the right side, but the whole front of the car hits the ground, and then the whole back of the car, because I drove through it, hits the ground, but the front driver's side tire popped. So I get it up out of that and drive, and then I hear a bunch of noise, and I'm like, ah, fuck, did I break an axle? That's not cool. So I start driving, and it starts getting worse, and I'm like, oh, fuck. So I pulled over at this church on the side of the road, and I'm like, fuck, the tire's gonna be shredded. The way the light was hitting it and the way I was looking at it, it looked like the tire was shredded. Whatever. I was like, well, maybe I can make it back to the house, at least. So then I won't have to be outside, and I can just change it in the garage, and it'll be fine. I'll have a regular jack, and it'll be Gucci. So, yeah, I use that term sometimes, Gucci. Anyway, so, I get out of the church parking lot, and it starts getting worse. And I'm like, fuck. And then I've got the hazard lights on the whole time. And then there's a car that comes behind me. headlights. I'm like, that looks like a Chevy Impala. And it's one of the newer ones. You know, the ones like the cops drive. And, well, not newer. It's like maybe a 2010. Well, that kind of is new. Whatever. So, pulls up behind me, and I'm going slow. Like the speed limit's 55. I'm going like 20 something. So, I got the hazards on, going really slow. I'm kind of pulled off to the side, going. And he slows down with me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull over and let this guy get around because he doesn't understand how hazard lights work. Which here in Tennessee, about 90% of people don't know how they fucking work. They're supposed to tell you, go around me. I'm slow, or something's wrong with my vehicle, or something's wrong with myself. Get out of my fucking way, or get around me. So, I pulled over, and then he stops with me. I'm like, does he not understand what's going on? Do I have to get my fucking knife out? What the hell's going on? And then the lights come on. I'm like, it's a fucking cop. Okay. So, it's not even an undercover cop. It's a full-fledged Metro Police cop. So, he gets out of the car, and he's like, well, what's going on? I was like, well, I decided to take a little drive, check on my flyers and stuff, and hit a pothole, and that happened. And he's like, okay, well, where do you live? And I said, well, I live on Harper Road, right down here. And he was like, oh, well, that's like about 4 miles. I was like, yeah, but hopefully I can make it. And he was like, well, do you want me to follow you just in case something happens? Or, I'm like, well, if you could, that'd be great. And so I get back not get back in, I'm still sitting in the car. Put it back in gear, start driving again. It gets worse. And I'm like, okay. I pull back over, and I'm like, hey, so I'm going to try to change the tire. I've got all the stuff in the car to change it. I've got the 4-way lug wrench. I've got a jack. I've got the spare tire. I've got all that. I just need to change it. And he's like, well, can you pull over to this parking lot across the street? And I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So pulled over there. And then he gets out of his car and he proceeds to help me. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. So we get the old tire off, and it looks like, when we get the tire off, it looks like the tire itself is fine. The tread doesn't look the greatest, but it looks fine. The whole thing, it just looks like a tire it looks like a rim in a tire without air in it. That's all it looks like. So, whatever. So, we get it off, and we get the spare tire on. And then there's, it's low on air. So, I'm like, fuck, I don't have an air compressor at the house or with me. I need to get me one of them damn portable ones that you plug up in the cigarette lighter that's actually worth a damn. The one my mom has isn't worth a damn, but anyway. So, what was I going to say? Oh, so we get the tire on. He's like, well, the tire's a little flat. And I'm like, well, this car's been on lower air than that. I'm just trying to go down the road. I don't care what it does. It's just as long as it gets me there and it doesn't blow the fuck up, I'm completely fine. So he's like, well, how are you going to get air in it? It's like, well, are you familiar with this area? And he's like, I kind of am, but I'm just passing through to go over to I-24 to Kentucky or something like that. And I'm like, well, right down here is, you get past all this other stuff, and then you get to my road. And past my road there's some other houses and stuff, and then there's 2 gas stations. That one gas station, they have a really nice air pump. So I'm going to take my air compressor. I have a tank, it just doesn't have any air in it. I'm going to take my tank and put air in it, and then put air in the tire. It's not even 2 miles down the road, so it'll be completely fine. And he's like, well, okay, if you're sure, but I'm going to follow you back to your house, or almost all the way back to your house, make sure you get there. I'm like, okay, thanks. So I drive back, and I get to the house completely fine, and he didn't follow me all the way to the house, but he followed me he followed me up to my road, and I got in the garage, and I looked at it, and Jesus. The spare tire. This instance was better than the one I had with the Honda Accord. The Honda Accord, fucking. Well, I had to call a wrecker first off because the jack I had was not tall enough for the damn car, but that was partly due because the car was on a tilt on the side of the road. It was jacked and it wasn't working right. That and yeah, that's about it. And the jack itself didn't come with like a handle or any of that shit. It just came with a tire iron and some kind of a bar and the spare tire itself and a jack. Didn't have any way of making the jack work, so you had to get in there with your fingers. This one, the Buick, has a jack, but it has like a moving tire iron. It's got like an end to it that looks like a lug nut almost. But put it in there, turn it, take it off, turn it again. And then you jack it all the way up. And it works perfectly fine. I love that fucking thing. It's fucking awesome. And he offered to drive me back home. I was like, well, if you drive me back home, can you drive me back to the car? Because I'm not leaving the car here overnight. That's just something that's not happening. And he's like, well, yeah, that's fine. What do you go back to the house for? I was like, well, I've got a regular jack at the house that I know that works perfectly fine. And then I've got an air compressor that doesn't have the air in it. And yeah, other than that, I got everything else here. It's a regular jack. Because the regular jack I know works and it'll get it up all the way off the ground to where I need to do stuff. And he's like, well, we'll do that. And this is before I knew I had the bar to actually spin the jack. And I was like, well, I don't have anything to spin it with. I can't do it with my fingers. And he's like, well, there should be a little instrument or a tool or accessory to do that with. I'm like, I don't see it. And then I pull the mat up and it's on top of the spare tire. I'm like, oh, okay. So, yeah, that happened. But yeah, so later today, I got to go to Pep Boys and put a new tire in my car. So, or maybe they'll just put air in it and it's completely fine. Or maybe the tire's fine and I have to replace the rim, which isn't too bad because all I have to do is go down the street, pull apart, and get a new rim. That wouldn't be too bad, but whatever. So, remember, like, comment, favorite, subscribe, like the Facebook page, will be linked down below in the description. I posted up some gameplay videos yesterday or day before yesterday. A couple just little short ones. Next video's probably going to be a vlog or more gameplay videos. Still haven't got any shipping on the Loot Crate yet. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to really say about the whole, I was going to say endeavor, and I was like, that sounds retarded. But that's all I have to really say. So I'll see you guys later. Bye.